James is having broccoli cheeseburger, and I'm going to be making some broccoli cheese nuggets. So you can see the shape of them there that I've formed. It's basically the same mix, but I ran out of chickpea flour, so I'll show you what I'm going to do with them. So they're a bit moister because I didn't have the chickpea flour. So they're the same mix without the chickpea flour. So they'll be more like the texture of the Veggie Patch nuggets if you've had those. If you like them, that's great. So I'm going to be doing a similar sort of thing to them. So these, right now, these are vegan. James's burger is vegan besides the cheese bun that I stuck it on, and he's having some Brussels sprout kraut and stuff with it because he's decided he really likes the Brussels sprout. I'm going to take each one of these nuggets and I'm going to dunk them first in the rye flour because I ran out of chickpea. I could have done it with chickpea. And then egg, and then breadcrumbs. And I just made those breadcrumbs yesterday. So, and then later on, probably tomorrow, but maybe later on today, we'll see if James feels like doing another one of these today.
I just gotta say, even the ingredients, the way they're laid out, look aesthetically pleasing. It's awesome. It's awesome.
So to make these nuggets, it's very affordable. I showed you broccoli soup yesterday, which James ate, and with the pulp, the nuggets. And to make them look like cheese, you put in carrot pulp as well, and so then each little bit of carrot looks like cheese. And nutritional yeast to make it cheesy flavored.
The one thing that should get mentioned in terms of economy, time is money. It does cost you time.
Yeah.
And energy.
Yeah.
So
you have to be an amiable personality type to actually do these projects.
A worker.
A worker.
A real worker.
Because otherwise you won't, right? You need to be somebody who gets stressed out and works it off. And it's easy
awesome
to have a batch of pulp ready to go at any time when you feel like, oh, I have a moment, I can, or whatever. You could do this while you're watching TV. You can do it, but we don't watch TV anymore, so I just do it.
We don't have a TV?
No.
Oh, we don't have an internet hookup?
Yeah. So it's been like, when I want to go through some fiction stories, it's stories I'm reading. Fiction, which, I mean, James calls fiction reading 19th century television.
Well, yeah, the 19th century fiction was kind of like that, and people are going around talking about the testimony of literature and Dickens and all this kind of stuff. Thackeray or whatever. Well, come on. I mean, it's hardly any better than nowadays TV. So, you know, Dickens was a sentimentalist and a melodramatist, along with everything else. You know, I don't go to him for testimony. You know, if I want testimony, I'll read Karl Marx, who was, you know, sitting in London during some of that era and stuff like that, or Engels doing somewhat the same thing. He might have been working out of Manchester more than anything else. His dad had I think it was a textile factory there, and I think Engels was supposed to have managed it for his dad. I presume he didn't mismanage it terribly. I suspect it was someone
It's that easy to bread something.
Really good at it, and Engels was just a useless, let's say, twit, because I don't like using that other term. But, or that other term. So, I've just heard a lot of soccer players use it when I'm, you know, talking about their fellow soccer players from the sideline and stuff like that. So, I pretended I was hearing useless twit. But, so, you'll excuse me for thinking that way, but you can't help it when you've been subjected to it as much as I have. Played a lot of soccer with a lot of, well, I guess I don't think it's an English expression. The English, the useless twit is. So,
and don't ever buy breadcrumbs. They're so easy to make.
You just torrefy them. Is that the word that
well,
they use?
I don't know. You rip
Dry
up
it.
some bread.
Yeah.
You stick it in the oven on a very low heat. Or if you have a nice old gas oven like mine, I don't know, what would mine be from? Maybe the 50s? I don't know.
It doesn't
Could
look-
be earlier.
This house is a century house, is it not?
Yeah, but I moved that stove in here.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, I
okay,
saw
so
it and I
you didn't
liked it.
inherit. Yeah, it's a
cute
nice
little
old
guy.
stove. You know, it's not very efficient.
No, it's
the,
always
pilot-
warm inside.
Yeah, the pilot
so
light.
I can dry
Yeah,
breadcrumbs.
It
or
saved you
dry
once when the
vegetables or
furnace
whatever I
went
want.
out on a very, very cold day.
Well, I just
And,
ran the oven.
Yeah.
That's what
oh,
I
you
did.
did.
Yeah, I
okay.
did.
Yeah, so it wasn't the pilot light.
The
I was so
pilot
worried
wouldn't-
about what was
wouldn't
happening. I
keep the
didn't keep
house warm.
the track of details like that. You know, trying to get the gas people in. Was it a holiday? I can't remember what it was.
It was a Friday,
Oh, it was a
and
Friday.
we had a lot of Chinooks, and it was going to be going down to -16 over the day or something.
yeah.
I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and you wanted to save plants,
Yeah,
and I think everything got saved
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
it was fine.
Anyway,
So I just cooked a lot of pumpkin that day, and then I froze the pumpkin when it was cooked later on.
outside or whatever.
Probably could have. I don't know.
Luckily enough, we didn't have to freeze it inside. It felt as though it came close. It was pretty brisk
Pretty cold
inside.
inside. Yeah.
All those ATCO guys or whatever were working on it. But speaking of workers, maybe we should make it clear. We keep talking about workers. They're passive type of people, and they're actually nice people. So, and a lot of them have been trained, because they're nice, right? They've been trained very well to accept some of the values, or poor values, of the aggressive people. And they're especially picking up from the aggressive propagandists, the artsy, shartsy types. But understand, so many of them are aggressive, and they're passing on their aggressive values onto real workers. And
Yeah.
they're claiming to be workers themselves. They aren't.
No.
I did all sorts of artsy things without public funding while I was working more than full time. And I wasn't strutting around with all sorts of tattoos all over my body, and you know, like with all sorts of. I mean, I dress goofily. Get that straight. But it's not goofy. It's goofy because I feel comfortable in it. It's not goofy to, hey, I want to be unusual. I want to be punk rock. Drawing attention to myself. So we're not aiming at real workers, passive people who are really nice. On the Briggs-Meyer thing, we'll use the color on the Briggs-Meyer thing because there's no way of censor on Facebook
And there's
or whatever.
a lot of amiable
The
people.
green people. Amiable is a good way to put it.
There's a lot of amiable people that are artists, like myself.
Exactly right. Can we mention someone by first name? That
What?
someone that I suspect is amiable?
Why?
Well, I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, well, we won't. But it's just Pauline's known a lot of artists of the one type and a lot of artists of the other type.
Yeah,
There's
and
a
well,
lot of
really
nice
the
ones.
only artists that, like, of the aggressive propagandist type, I tend to prefer the artists, but it's commercial artists. It's people who have actually had art training at an art college, or actually know how to do this stuff. They have technique, right?
Yeah, so
And-
they learned how to do art, not talk.
Yeah, not talk it. And although, you know, some of my friends have been quite yellow, or I should say aggressive propagandists.
Yeah, don't. Yeah.
I shouldn't say yellow,
Yeah.
because then I get spammed with a whole bunch of...
People misunderstand it.
Yeah,
they
they
think
don't
we're going
understand.
against. We're talking about
I'm not.
people of color and stuff
I'm
like
not.
that, and we're not.
But anyway, so a lot of them have been aggressive propagandist type, but they have a lot of amiable aspects to them also. And I've been able to learn some art stuff from them, and it hasn't been a total drain on me to be friends with them.
So we,
I know
you feel
who they
ambivalent
are,
about people like that, right?
Yeah.
They're not that amiable. They have
Yeah.
certain amiable traits, but
when I'm talking about people, you know, rich people flying all over the country and bringing COVID back and stuff like that, I mean,
flying
it
all
should
over
be
the world.
pointed out that I'm not talking about amiable people. Some of them have been misled to believe that this is the lifestyle that they should be aiming for, and that it's totally kosher. It is not. But it's the aggressive people that I am talking about. They are the fault of this.
The COVID stuff.
Yeah.
And with the People's Republic of China, it's the aggressive rulers, dominators, and stuff like that. But there have been all sorts of people who've been their cheerleaders, and
yeah, and well, I mean, right now, you were saying that there are 2 cases in Canada that have been found of the new
confirmed
variant,
according to CBC, and I almost trust them on this one. I don't trust
or
them.
the
on
most recent variant of COVID, and that they were found in Ottawa.
And who did you figure they
Politicians.
might? Politicians.
So, I mean,
Why was I smiling?
it's interesting, isn't it, that they were found in Ottawa?
Yeah. So it
And-
could have been other people, but yeah.
And I mean, they wouldn't have had to have the tests coming in. They wouldn't have had to pay for their own tests.
You're probably right. We probably had to pay for
it. Probably had to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was recently, Trudeau decided that he could let people not have to pay for a quick test, COVID quick test, to get when they get back in.
What an idiot.
Yeah. So
they open things up and then this thing hits. Now it does make me wonder.
It makes me wonder if our government is involved with People's Republic of China and in spreading this thing, honestly.
See, I don't wonder about that, but I can't argue against it. I can't. No one can be this dumb as Trudeau, Kenny,
Yeah, and I mean,
Biden, Trump.
You don't know who the 2 people confirmed cases of COVID were. It could have been Trudeau and his wife.
No.
No.
Get on the
But
sticks,
in any
CBC,
case,
and find out who
Ottawa
it
makes
is.
me think, politician. And politicians are either they tend to be aggressive propagandists or aggressive rulers. They're aggressive. They don't care about other people. They make you think, the aggressive propagandists, they make you think that they care about issues that you care about. But that's marketing.
They care about themselves.
Yeah.
They keep on talking about hating individualism and stuff like that. But you look at the way they deal with themselves. Michel Foucault, aggressive propagandist and aggressive dictator too. Horrible person.
In the middle. Yeah. He's one of those Hitler lines.
Mm-hmm. That's where Hitler would have been.
Yeah.
On the Briggsmeyer thing.
Right in the middle of the 2.
Failed artist. And very successful for a while politician. Ultimately, a huge failure.
I think he was on the aggressive ruler side of the line.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. But he's in the middle.
There are lots of them like that.
So yeah, with
Mussolini would have been there. He was a press guy, right?
Oh yeah.
He killed more than his share of people in his life.
Yeah.
Stalin and Lenin were way up in the red. Stalin wasn't good at giving speeches, apparently, because of his accent.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's Georgian. Came from Plains, Georgia, along with Jimmy Carter. No, he came from the other Georgia. His dad was a shoemaker. You know, strictly speaking, I don't think he was working class. A shoemaker, I presume, worked for himself, but maybe he worked in a shop or something like that. And he trained in something like a seminary. I don't think you'd call it Catholic.
But yeah,
probably Orthodox seminary.
You have some books that you wanted to talk about. Do you want to talk about them, or just talk about this and just talk about this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Two of the books I don't want to mess up.
Oh, I see, because you've already started eating your... Well, I have a wet nap here.
I couldn't, yeah.
I brought that out because I want to be able to turn off the camera eventually.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure if I'd get this one all messy, too.
Yeah, I couldn't resist the burgers, so I launched into one.
Well, that's good.
I think maybe I'll clean off my fingers and then I'll let him. But... I suppose we could say a few more things while I'm finishing up.
I mean, well, it is interesting, too, to think about COVID. The last time, was it last year, I said, oh, delivered just in time for Christmas. And you looked at where all the different variants were, like at the time we looked, where all the variants were from. And you could plot it out and say, oh, that's interesting. You know, this is like the distribution, the geographical distribution looks like it allows for maximum spread, and and so it looked pretty fishy about how it was delivered just before Christmas, and again, here we are, this
well, it's very fishy.
This one's very fishy because it comes from
where
Africa.
It comes from. South Africa.
Yeah.
Oh. So you'd expect for a variant to develop during the height of winter.
Yeah.
Now, newsflash for you aggressive people out there who haven't done your homework. Yes, it is November, almost December in South Africa. But it ain't winter there.
Yeah.
You guys aren't very good at geography. You keep on yipping and yapping about maps and boundaries.
South Africa, because it's such a beautiful place at this time of year to hang out at. I would know, I have never been, but James has been to South Africa.
I wouldn't want to visit South Africa in the summertime. I just wouldn't.
Yeah, too hot, eh?
It would be hot. You'd have to be on a beach or something like that, or near one.
Well, and a lot of people, that's where they go. They go, like when they go on holidays, they head for the beaches.
Yeah. And the way they'd look at it is if they're, excuse me for licking my fingers here.
Oh, you do what you gotta do.
This stuff's too good to waste. Yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
But, it makes me very suspicious to see it come out of South Africa. Not from out of South Africa, but it's not where, it's the timing.
Yeah.
At this time of year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the dude... See, we're not hooked into the internet. We're dependent on the CBC radio. Radio 1, as they style it. And... it should be Radio N, like one suggests it's, wow, it's the best. And N is like, fill in whatever number you like, all the way up. Well, let's call it Omega. Yeah, like right at the end. Infinity, right? Because that's where it rates at, I'm afraid. I suppose there's some Fox networks that are worse, but it's not saying much. Anyway,
I didn't quite have enough to do the whole bag, but that's all right.
so yeah, we're talking about geography,
Yeah.
and boundaries and stuff like that. And one of the tropes that the aggressive propagandists like, who are on the, they're all over the political map, not spectrum. They like using the word trope. Maybe that's the way they say it. Trope. And they really think they're. One person was really proud because they said, "I use catachresis." That's kind of like things like mixed metaphor and stuff like that. It's clumsiness in using a trope. I use catachresis. Catachresis. Yeah, stupid. And they were using it. I mean, it's awful, but they were proud of it. And that was a English, at the very least, an English instructor. I suspect it was an English professor in here on this book. So I started the other day, and I said, it consists of 602 pages of garbage, and then I checked inside, and there's 603 pages all told. And I was saying, yeah, if I searched hard, I might be able to find one page in there. But I just woke up, kind of, sort of, and I don't feel up to doing this thing justice. When I say justice, it'll be rough justice, so it's literary criticism, so cultural criticism brought to bear on grizzly bear on English literature. How's that for a trope, eh? I don't feel up to doing the rough justice that it deserves. So get ready, you know, like it'll all you trying little trolls out there. You're not going to like it. There's going to be much weeping and gnashing of teeth.
I'll show you what this looks like before I put it away.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
I have a couple in there, and I made this many.
Yeah.
With
It looks like almost 20 that you put together there, right?
Huh?
12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, almost 20. And then you've got a couple more here, but you didn't have enough ingredients to put on them, right?
Yeah. So I put, usually I put 20 nuggets in one of these freezer bags. And
there you go.
But now that many won't fit in because now they're breaded.
Yeah.
So they won't quite fit. But I'm going to make a couple of these. I could bake them in the oven like this, just like this on the parchment. But I won't be. I'll be deep frying them in coconut oil for James. So he will love it. And then the rest of these I'm putting right back in the freezer before they thaw out. So he'll let you know what he thinks of these.
It could almost thaw out here.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
It's very nice, and it's uncharacteristically still for weather this warm this time of year. It's almost December, so you'll be watching it a few days later. Or it could be, I don't know. I'm told
whenever
unless it gets deleted by, is it Facebook that handles this?
No,
site
I don't put things on Facebook.
Well, there you go. I hate to advertise to them.
I put my videos on YouTube.
Yeah, apparently one of the flunkies involved with it, I'm not talking about Zuckerberg, it's kind of like a supporter of Trump.
Oh, okay.
Can that be true? That was according to CBC.
I don't know.
They might be misrepresenting it seriously, so don't come after me. Allegedly right-wing or allegedly supporter of Trump.
So I was able to.
But if he is, wow.
I have three that I couldn't fit in.
Anyway, here's what we're going to be dealing with today, if we got enough time on camera.
Biggles in the jungle, eh?
Biggles in the jungle. I don't know if they say jungle or jungle or something like that in Dutch. And it might seem as though I'm making fun of the Dutch language. English is the fun language in the world, the weird one. But they're all weird. Right? I don't want to be picking out Dutch language for derision, and I definitely don't want to be picking out Dutch people for derision. They get too much of it, way too much of it. Maybe the most tolerant nation in the world, the Netherlands, or Holland, as we tend to call it here in the English tradition, and you know, like a recognition to Dutch people for their tolerance. Some who've gone farther afield as settlers, like the Voortrekkers in South Africa. Some of them have had their problems. They haven't kept their problems to themselves. They pass them on to their neighbors, generally people of color. But I think some of them are working their way out of that there. And I was raised in north of South Africa. That doesn't seem too weird. A place called Zambia. 7 of my first 10 years of life were spent there. And there was one family that was, I'm not going to mention their names, they were the dominant on our mission school that we went to. And most of them are absolutely useless, worse than useless. But there was one family, I'll mention them by name, the Cluties. I didn't even know they were Afrikaans. They were so nice. And Brindley Clutie was the kid. He was a little older than me, I think. That was closest in age to me. He was a wonderful guy. So if you're watching, Brindley, thank you for being so nice to us. It might have been, that family might have been the nicest to us of all the families out there. So there was a family called the Hobbies. They were from the southern United States. They were absolutely wonderful. I know the parents of Georgina Hobby was dead. I can't remember the name of the father. He's into astronomy. He had all sorts of books. He was from the southern United States. We lived in their house. They'd left it for the United States, and they hadn't been able to take all his books, all her books too. I think she'd been a nurse or something like that. Like this was just out of the 50s, right? But she was kind of like a professional woman, you know, like coming from the southern United States. And this was a more than Baptist religion. And Georgina, was that her name? Something like that. Anyway, they left a huge number of books, and they were like scientific books, astronomy books, all sorts of stuff. Unfortunately, the termites had gotten to some of them. That's the way it is in Africa. This was slightly into the tropics. Anyway, this is a English series by W.E. Johns. I'm not sure when this book was initially published. It was published in Dutch. A couple of minutes?
You have 1 minute.
1 minute. 1984, and then another edition in 1994 or something like that. It's a nice read. There are a lot of people that find it like colonialist, settler colonialist, or whatever. You know, like it's not going to change your mind for the worse if you're actually not racist and all that sort of stuff. And then to go from the serious to the you know, the light reading, The Mainstream of Mathematics by Edna E. Kramer, PhD. And it's a popularization. I've got another book, A History of Mathematics. It's much thicker than this, hardcover and stuff like that. It's much more intense read. But this one comes recommended. Biggles, if you get hold of it. But again, don't buy them new. Buy them used. Okay?